Here are the ingredients you need for sourdough bread. Sourdough starter, warm water, salt, maybe a little rye flour, whole wheat flour, and white flour. That's it. With the water, especially the whole wheat flour. So I'll mix the water in, stir it up, and then let it sit for a few minutes. It's warm water, but not as hot as you would need for making regular commercial yeast go. So the next step is mixing in the starter, and you need to have everything ready. So you need to have the starter ready, you need to have the salt ready, you need to have a little oil for the bowl at the end, you need to have very clean hands, and you need to have hats on so you don't get hair in your bread dough. So first we're going to add the starter. Alright, so it's time to mix in the starter. And I mix it in by hand for small batches. Alright, you mixing it?
Oh yeah, right.
You starting? So the flour and water and starter are pretty well incorporated. The next step is to add the salt. The salt adds flavor, it slows the rise, and it also relaxes the dough, because right now it's pretty stiff, and when we add the salt, it'll relax it. Go ahead. So after mixing in the salt for a while, the dough is a lot less sticky. Not sticking to our hands so much. Mix it for a few more minutes. Okay, that's enough. Camille, put it back. So when you're done mixing, you scrape down the sides to get all the crud in. And the dough ends up getting pretty not sticky. The bowl's clean. And then we add a little bit of oil. Go ahead, dump it in. That's good. And then go like this. And you coat the dough and put a lid on it and let it rise for 2 hours. So after about 2.5 hours, you need to turn the bread dough. See, it's a little soft here. It's sort of holding the hole. So lift it up. Turn it over. That's it. You're a little more gentle than regular bread. Alright, so the dough has risen for another half an hour after we turned it. I'm going to dump it out here on the board. So, put on my scale here. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is sort of pre-shape it. And it's just sort of shape it partially. Roll it. You can hear the dough squeaking. These are partially shaped. They've been sitting there about 15 minutes. And so they're halfway shaped. And this is just sort of rounding it a little bit more. A little bit more. So that's it. Then I'll cover this, I'll put a little flour on top and then cover it up with plastic wrap. Let it sit out on the counter for about 20 minutes and then put it in the fridge overnight. So this is the batard. There's one, two. It's risen nicely, it's still pretty cooled. We have the two other loaves, so they're ready to dump it on top, and then I have to go around and score it. And that makes it open up in the right spot. Slide it in, close the door. Same thing for the petard shaped loaf. Slide it into the oven, so it looks like inside the oven. Alright, so they've been baking a few more minutes. Take them out of the oven. Alright, so we're going to let them sit there for 2 hours before we eat them. And that's it.